on Lina Land, a YouTube channel of for about poetry and stories. We see where words can take us. It's a journey through layers of meaning, rabbit holes of emotion, anthills of thoughts, all couched in words. It's only words. Words are all you need. Hey guys, welcome back to Lina Land. I'm very happy to be with you here today because I realize I'm finally going to share with you something that I should have shared long ago, and I have no idea why I haven't done it. I'm going to share with you some work from Radha. Radha is my first book of poetry. It's my first book, period. And here's how it happened. I was in this leadership workshop. It was being conducted by a very dear friend. He had called all of us together and said, let's do this. And we said, great, we'd love to attend. And we were in a 3-day workshop. On the first day, first half of that day, he asked this room full of us. He said, what is it that you're doing or not doing that's holding you back? And my answer at that time was, you know what, I have this manuscript ready and I haven't sent it to any publisher. He said, why? I said, I don't know, I'm terrified. What if they don't like it? What if I'm rejected? I don't know how to do this. I'm terrified. He said, but that's what life leadership is all about. It's about taking these decisions and having the courage to go and do what terrifies you. So, and then he addressed the room. He said, guys, you know what we're going to do? We are not going to start tomorrow's session, the first session tomorrow, until Lina actually sends her manuscript out to one publisher at least. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I went back home. I told Abhijit, my husband, I said, this is what has happened. What do? I don't even know who to send this to. He surprisingly said, don't worry. I have already prepared a list of publishers for you. Let's look through it and let's see what we need to do next. And interestingly, there was only one publisher in that list who was not a self-publishing house and was accepting online submissions. So we filled out their criteria and we put together the submission and we sent it that night. Next morning I go back to the workshop, I show them the email, I say I've done this, and I forget all about it because honestly I'm not expecting anyone to revert. And after that I don't even go and check the other list of publishers, I don't even go and send my print manuscript to anybody, nothing. Within 20 days I hear back from Lead Start, my publisher. And they said, let's do this. And that's how Radha took this form. But Radha had been an integral part of my life even before that. So when I actually wrote Radha, I'd be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I would be scribbling like a mad woman. I just had to get all of this down on paper. So I'll tell you what Radha is. Radha is a collection of 101 poems written in the voice of Radha to Krishna. And for me, that became something that I simply had to do. I was obsessed with trying to figure out who this Radha was as an old woman. Who was she when she was a little girl? What was she like when she was not with Krishna? And what was this feeling that she had for her Krishna? And how would she think? What are the words that she's using? How would she dress? What did she look like when she didn't look perfect? Because the Radha that we get to see on screen in mythology, in art, in architecture, is this perfect woman, right? She's a young, beautiful woman who's by the side of her beloved Krishna. What was she like when she was not perfect? What was she like when she was not young? And what was her voice? Because somebody who Krishna held in such esteem must have had a voice that was powerful, valuable. And I wanted somehow to be the vessel for that voice. And that's why I would be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and scribbling furiously. There's another story to Radha. My mum wanted to name me Radha. I wanted to name my daughter Radha. That obviously didn't happen. Now my daughter, I'm keeping this on record. My daughter has promised that she's going to name her daughter whenever she has one. She's going to name her Radha. So hopefully we're going to have a Radha in the family sometime. But until then we have this Radha. And today I wanted to share with you two poems. One when Radha is an old woman, the other when Radha is a young girl. So all the Radhas that you have seen on screen, I want you to compare and contrast them with the Radha who is about to speak just now. This old woman is Radha. And like I said earlier, all these poems, 101 of them, are like love letters from Radha to Krishna. So everything is in her voice. So here's this old woman. She says, I remember one time when I was old, very, very old. My cheeks were wrinkled brown hollows, sinking without hope into a shriveled toothless cavity. Can you imagine a Radha like that? An old woman whose cheeks were wrinkled brown hollows, sinking without hope into a shriveled toothless cavity. My limbs were frail, tired, crisscrossed with the stories of the many, many years I had lived. My once lustrous hair, Radha's hair. We've all seen it in the pictures, haven't we? Long, beautiful black hair. So here she says, my once lustrous hair was a wisp of smoke. I was a wisp of smoke. No one would have given me so much as a passing glance. Who glances at smoke that is fading away into the ether? And I expected no better. But then, a young man came. He was a traveler, they said. He walked into my corner, looked into my black eyes, held my skeletal hand and told me I was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. There are times you help me live, Krishna, and times you help me die. There are times you help me live, Krishna, and times you help me die. Now, what a love story is that? When you have this old woman who is a wisp of smoke in a corner, and a man walks up to her and she is able to see her Krishna in him, and he sets her free from her mortal life. And that's the Radha that I wanted to bring in front of the world. Because love is so ageist in the way that we portray it in mainstream media, isn't it? Only young people feel this way about one another. Only young, beautiful, good-looking boys and girls fall in love with one another. Love has to be like that. It has to be between two different genders. It has to have a specific age. It must not have an older woman and a younger man. None of this is even remotely true, is it? And to have someone like Radha, a character like Radha, bring that reality of romantic love in front of us is for me it's almost goosebumps. It's almost electrifying to imagine this old woman dying and finally being set free by somebody who sees her for who she is. For me, that's such an incredible and incredibly powerful Radha-Krishna moment. And that was the old Radha in this. There is also a very young Radha. So when you're reading the book, in poem number 55, you have this story of Radha as an old woman, and suddenly, quickly, within a moment, you are transported into the life of Radha as a young girl, as a little girl. So once again I ask you this question, have you thought of her like that? Have you wondered who she was as a little girl? Who loved her? Who her parents were? Who her friends were? What was she like before she had even heard of Krishna? And this is something that Radha tells us. She says, when I was a little girl, my mother told me I was beautiful. My brothers thought I was a pain. My father told me I was his princess. Such a familiar sounding story, isn't it? So many little girls we know like that. all around us. Little girls, imagine them, tiny little girls. When I was a little girl, my mother told me I was beautiful. My brothers thought I was a pain. My father told me I was his princess. My neighbors told them they were spoiling me. They said I'd never be able to adjust to the real world where I would be treated like just another ordinary creature. Just another ordinary creature. Look at how unkind the world is. You have this little family doting on their little girl, and then you go up to them and tell them, you're spoiling her. In the real world, no one's going to treat her like this. In the real world, she's just going to be just another ordinary creature. So they said I'd never be able to adjust to the real world where I would be treated like just another ordinary creature. And then you came along, Krishna. Proof, if any was needed, that where there is love, there always will be more. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn that the only way to spoil a little girl is by not bringing her up in love? What a smart woman this Radha is. See how she's taken the word spoil and turned it on its head. So the neighbors in this poem, they were saying you will spoil your little girl by loving her too much. She comes back with this brilliant take on everything, and she says that the only way you can spoil a little girl, because in the first sense spoil is used in the way that we normally use it, to denote being pampered and not adjusted to real world. But Radha turns it on its head. She says you can actually spoil a little girl, make her truly unhappy, vitiate her existence, only if you do not bring her up in love. What a powerful message for little girls everywhere, for parents of little girls, for families of little girls, for neighbors who have ideas like this. And that's why again I love her. She can say these things. She's talking to her Krishna, but she's also talking to all of us. And she's asking us to look at how we perceive the little girls in our lives and say that she tells us very clearly that the only way to spoil a little girl is to not bring her up in love. And that's powerful. I cannot imagine anybody other than Radha saying this, because that's the kind of full-bodied Radha that lives in these pages. She's not just a caricature. She's not simply somebody we see dancing around trees. Not that that's a bad thing, it's a great thing. I'm not dissing the movies in which Radhas are expected to dance around trees, not dissing them. But I'm saying that here is this woman with so much to offer all of us. And she has done all of this in the book while writing to her Krishna. There is always that subtext. There is always, just give me a moment guys, there is always that all-encompassing love that she has for Krishna. I am so surprised that it's taken me so long to share this with you. This is the first of many such encounters that we will have with Radha. I have completely, thoroughly enjoyed knowing her. I hope you will too in Leena Land. Hey there people, if you've enjoyed this word work, feel free to like, share and subscribe. Remember, you are always welcome on Leena Land.